Hello, hello! Let's talk about the new solo raid, if you can call it that. I mean, this is probably the least interesting solo raid we've had in a while. Um, it's mostly just fairly easy to deal with, thank God. But let's talk about it. This is Fire. Fire is probably the easiest one to set up. I will say this, I still don't have maids on my alt. There is a workaround, but you know. Um, it is what it is. So, for those who just want the teams. Oh, also, before I start, because if you think my damage is low, which I think it kind of is, I reformatted my PC last week. I forgot to re-enable the min round setting the in the game for Nikkei. What that does is that all of your SMG, assault rifle, and machine gun do just perform worse on average, because the game is not really well optimized in combat. So as a result, you can probably add an extra billion damage on this. But yeah, so 19.5 here and 17.1 here. If I had the maids, this would be 17.7. I did fix it up in time for my alt's last team, but it is what it is. So, yeah, this is what I've been using. At the end of the day, Fire is going to be different for every account. It depends on how well you've invested in, like, Asuka and Rey, if you want to use those. But this is basically what's ideal for me. My Asuka is actually pretty okay on the main. Unfortunately, well, while she is pretty okay, I can't find a place for her to really work. I did find a place for her on the alt, so if you have her built properly, you can use her that way. I'm sure some people are going to have question marks about Brid not bursting. She brings damage taken as a debuff and does decent damage herself. She also breaks projectiles, so you can spend more time doing damage. Realistically, you can use her with Diesel, and it's probably a better idea. But in maids, she functioned just fine. I mean, here I'm using the maid, so the main thing about Diesel you have to understand is that she has nothing boosting her attack. She has a lot of sustained damage, which means that if you have more attack to compound that sustained damage increase, it really boosts your damage a lot. And that's why I did this. Shotguns are really busted in this match. You really don't need a healer because you break every part so fast. But the rockets are going to be a problem. Just keep that in mind. And here I'm using Nayuta for healing and just damage and Modernia. Nayuta is such an awkward unit also because now you kind of want to use her because she boosts your damage a fair bit and she does good damage. But at the same time, she doesn't bring anything but damage. Realistically, there is no core on the map. Usually the Alteisan the train has a core in between the two massive guns that shoots at you. That core has been removed. Color me surprised, Nayuta doesn't get to really use the main thing that makes her about on par with Crown, so she's just not boosting damage a whole lot. But she does fine. The main thing is that she destroys every single missile coming at you, so you can completely forget about that, which is really good for Electric, because outside of Modernia, you won't really have the means to shoot at it without losing damage. So Nayuta is able to deal with that, and that's really the main thing she's got going here. Raven is still really good. On my main, my Alice sucks. I only have like 14% elemental because, I mean, at the end of the day, I really wish I could have a better Alice. I have too much shit to build. I just don't have the resources for her, and she's a pain in the ass to work on, so I just don't. Also, she's kind of just not relevant outside of Fire now, so there's that. Yeah, Raven actually matches my Alice's damage as an off burst. Yeah, a Raven is really silly. She's just a really good off burst. Especially on fire, because you want to use Mihara as a main burst in this. So yeah, that was my main, and my alt had to make a few different things. I cannot use Brid with the main team here. So instead I use Asuka as a burst, and Mihara is just a flex DPS here. I do a little more damage that way. I believe if I use Mihara and Ludmilla, I end up at like 4. Well, that was before the mid-round thing happened, but before the mid-round thing happened, this team was already doing 5 bill one time, and then just constantly did 4.6. And with Ludmilla was doing 4.4, 4.5. So this is still better regardless. But I think with Ludmilla I would do about 5. The main reason I was using Ludmilla is the damage taken debuff, and also to supercharge Siren. But yeah. Oh, and here I lose 500 mil. My diesels are comparable between accounts. But I don't really have access to the mates, so I had to use Brid here to make up for it. So let's talk about the boss. This is the worst team of the bunch. You want to use Grave with Alice because Pierce damage boost. Grave gives an attack damage and a Pierce damage boost. You want to break as many parts as possible because you do more damage in general thanks to it. But also because when you're piercing, you're hitting basically like one of these pieces on top of the boss, so you do double damage with Pierce. But also, I believe you do break. Whenever you break something, you do get a bit extra damage. With this team, the main reason I'm using Helm as a burst is genuinely to survive. Raven struggles to live. So you know. So for this team specifically, you can just face tank it. Helm is going to heal so much that you just don't care. In this case, my litter was reloading at the perfect time, so whatever. But genuinely, even if I took the shot, I would be down to about 20% and then heal back up by the time she gets shot again. Most of the all the turrets hit the highest attack unit. These little missiles hit something random, but it is what it is. So also for those who wonder, is it important to keep the QTE up or can you just break it immediately? Doesn't matter. It will not fast forward through the boss to like a different mechanic. It will just hang in the background like it is right now until it basically catches up to, well, to whenever the QTE would end. So you're fine. You don't get anything from just letting it like run for a while. Another thing is that the missile spawning is on a timer. It is not, in fact, on so basically the boss for a certain amount of time will go back and forth and you can break pieces. The reason why I mentioned that is basically the more damage you have, the more you can take advantage of this. You're going to see this a lot more once I use the Rapicom because I go back and forth like 5 times. If you want to have an idea of when to cover to basically parry the blow, simply just count the amount of pulsation, because it's going to do 3 pulsation and then shoot at you. Basically, 1, 2, 3, go. It's all within. It basically has the same delay in between each of them. So there's 3 to basically, so you know exactly when to cover, when to switch characters, and so on. So yeah. Do keep in mind if something like Crown's stack hits 20, so she taunts, or anything that taunts happen, the final blow, even though the indicator will be on someone else, will go to that person. So this is the funny mechanic here. If you're fast enough, you can get an Elm Burst in there before the shield happens, which is what I believe I did here. It is very tight, and you might need a few retries to do that. You can also just give up and just do less damage. If you see it in the back and you know the shield is about to come out, ideally you break the missiles before the QTE pops up, because they're kind of annoying to deal with while also trying to deal with the parts as soon as you can. You have a lot more time than it looks, and they have almost no HP, but you know, it's better to be able to do as much damage as you can after the shield is done. So this is going to be the part where you're going to see why Raven is also really good for this fight. She is a rocket launcher, so yeah, she doesn't give a shit about this QTE whatsoever. This is true whenever you have a rocket launcher on the team. You can just completely negate it without having to shoot at it. This QTE happens right at the end of your burst, so you want to be shooting basically where it's shooting in time. This is why you want to break the missiles coming at whoever before it happens, because you won't be able to do both. If there's only one and you're pretty healthy, you can just let it go. It doesn't matter if you get hit. It doesn't kill you in one. You can take like 3. Here I let Raven die. Honestly, probably ideal if I didn't, but whatever. It was at the end, so I didn't care. Also, my arm was starting to feel pretty tired. I did both my main and my ult back to back. Spoiler alert, you're going to be fast charging a lot for burst gen in all but one team, so yeah, take breaks if needed. So that's the most complicated, the most annoying team. If it wasn't for Grave breaking the things pretty easily, the missiles mostly, it would be a lot more annoying. So next up is Diesel and Liberalio. Yeah, SBS is more replaceable than Liberalio because Liberalio does not need anyone to work. SBS needs Liberalio, not the other way around, so as annoying as that is to say, it is what it is. Liberalio just does pretty good damage even on neutral. The problem with this team is that we don't really have high rate of fire in here. So what that means is breaking missiles is a bit of a nightmare. If you have the maze, it is not as bad because you're going to be able to do just fine. I mean, you see here, right? I burst getting so hard that I'm still on cooldown. But yeah, I can't really take advantage of the parts. If you have the maze, you can break the parts a lot easier, so you can do more damage overall. Like I said, counter 3 and then swap. Again, the QTE does not matter, just break it as soon as you can, so you don't have to worry about that plus the missile at the same time. It's just more chill that way. Thankfully, with this we have Brid, so it's not as bad. Whenever you burst, Brid will just shoot everything on the map for like 600% damage. So you're able to just deal with that pretty easily. It took too much time here. It is what it is. Ideally, you want to reload before the burst ends, just so you can do more. As you can see, like the parts just break suddenly. That's because the timer is over. QT is here. I fucked up pretty bad here. Honestly, like I said, I should have done that earlier. I should have broken the missile earlier so I can actually focus on doing the QTE, but oh well, it is what it is. Unfortunately, I was on full burst, so this is the result. But I was able to fucking salvage it somehow. D might get fucked like this. It is what it is. You can't really stop it. But it is what it is, really. I could have done better, but genuinely, my arm was killing me by that point. I believe this was the last team I had fast charge to do, so, you know, you can do better than I am. In fact, yeah. It is what it is. Yeah, this was the last team I was doing as of the day. I think I did like 3 hours of train as a result. Was pretty ass. Third one is electric. Honestly, electric, there's really only one thing to keep in mind, and it's just Modernia's ammo count at one part of the fight. You are going to really hope to have that max ammo on Rouge, if not 2, because, yeah, it might be a bit of a problem otherwise. As you can see, I'm shooting with Rouge. Sometimes if you see you're low on ammo, like 2 or 3 ammo, it's better to do a 2 full charge than not. Or if you take control of her, because you have Summer and Nice on the team and you have Resilience, of course, on Rouge, you can just force the reload before the burst ends so you can go back into it. That's also a method you have of just fixing the problem. Keep in mind, Cinderella will always have the highest attack in burst, so what you can do is simply, you know, let her tank some of the attacks, because our doppelganger should be able to tank it. The turrets don't really do a whole lot of damage. Obviously, you want to kill them as soon as you can, but if you have to, it's fine. As you can see, Nayuta deals with every missile, so you don't have to worry about anything. Now, I will say this in advance before it happens. If you see the QT is about to approach, just look at the time as a reference. And your Modernia is about to run out of ammo, please reload. You're going to not really enjoy the result otherwise. I believe my mod on this account is pretty bad also. Yeah, like here I could literally face... Yeah, and that's what I did. I literally ignored the laser because it was going to hit the decoy anyway. Or glass replica. So... Yeah, you see how I have 200 ammo? That's fine. You just want to break the part and then reload if you're low. This is important for the QTE because, yeah, you don't have a proper rocket launcher on this team. Yeah, other than that, I mean, it's standard fare at this point. If you've played Train ever, it's basically always the same. There's just more QTEs for this phase, so, you know. Truly, truly the most impactful stuff. His team is not that bad, it's just really, dealing with Modernia. Which, if you're tired, can be a problem. And also, this QT sucks. I mean, that's kind of why you have to be on point with Rouge, though even if I got hit, it would not have mattered. Yeah, my Modernia does a whole, like, 300 mil less damage here than on my main, so... There's definitely a bit of a difference. Okay, so shotguns. Shotguns, you're going to see I really don't take a whole lot of damage. I use 8 at the start to be able to break everything because Doro moment. You really don't want to take too many missiles, by the way. As you can see, Dorothy just does not care. For those who wonder, because usually I use Naga with Bunny Soda, this is a lot better than using Bunny Soda. Though to be fair, I don't need healing, so there's that. If I need healing, it very much will depend if Celine can heal enough, in which case you will use Soda, otherwise you'll use Naga as a burst too then. But yeah, remains to be seen. I love Drake's Lightning. It goes everywhere but on the boss. It's really fun. I'm so glad it's not like shooting the nearest enemy in the crosshair because, you know, that'd be too simple. I have time where it just shoots in the background. I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck is this? I don't care how much damage you do if you just miss it all. Well, yeah, shotgun works really well here. You do really good damage in general here. 8 is good because she also gives pierce damage. Grave would also be an option in general. But the thing you have to understand about Grave is just she's better with Alice because of elemental damage. In my case, it probably would be better if I swapped the two, but eh. I think Grave is a little too important to deal with the missiles. If you burst at the right time, you're able to last the whole burst. I did not do that here, so Toph to the rescue, I guess. It is what it is. If you time it just about at the start of the QT, you're fine, and you're going to go through the QT much faster. Alas, I wasn't. My main did about 200 mil more, but my main has a worse Drake while I have a better Dorothy on the main. So, there's that. But yeah. Team 5 is, I mean, if you struggle with this team, I don't know what to tell you. Genuinely, I do not know what to tell you. The only thing I struggled with was understanding why I was doing so much less damage until I found out about the min-round thing. Oh, another thing if you're using this team, which most people will, because you're using Siren and Crown, you might actually not run Bastion on your Rappy and Mihara. You want Resilience. Because Crown's reload speed buff plus resilience is so good that you basically don't have to rev up as much anymore if you run out of ammo. So you don't lose anything, and it also means you don't have to babysit Rappy so that she always has ammo when she's bursting, which is really, really nice. It also means your machine guns will be consistently shooting, which is good for Mermaid, so the burst gen is consistent. You can shoot the missile by just shooting basically where they're going to be, and then they're going to just break themselves on your bullets. So So that's something you want to try as much as you can. But yeah. Asuka, when she's bursting, is really good at breaking parts, so that's why I use her here instead of Mihara, because Mihara does fucking nothing when she bursts, as far as breaking parts is concerned. Which means, with Asuka, you're able to go back and forth a lot more like this. Every time you break parts, you do like 200 million damage, more or less, from the damage of breaking the parts themselves, plus the damage that you do to Alteisan, so it's pretty good to have. Oh, and the laser is completely blocked by shields. It does absolutely nothing as long as you have a shield, so you can completely ignore it. With Mermaid, you don't really care about burst whatsoever either. So, you know, you can just do this. And if you're lucky, Rappy's also going to shoot at the right time, so there's that. And after that, it's just a standard fare again, so yeah. I just let that one pass because I have a shield, so it does absolutely nothing. If you have Rappy, you can shoot about in the middle, and it's going to be breaking all the projectiles as they come out like this. So it just makes the fight so chill, in general. But yeah. Oh. That's that. So hopefully this helps some. As I said before, I'll say it again just in case. When it comes to this team, Maids is just better, and then you can use Brid as a slide in for damage taken and damage. You can also use her in Shotgun, which would be really, really good, because then she gets all the benefits of Tove, and by shooting more, she gets to proc her skills more for more damage, which is really good. Just a point of to mention this because, you know, she's a shotgun at the end of the day. But yeah, hopefully this helps some. And yeah, well, I'll see you on the next one then. Have a good day, everyone.